Thanks. Thanks for tuning in. You know, today on the show we're going to be discussing what it takes to make it in business. Not just in a regular business, but in one of the toughest on the planet. We're going to be talking about the food industry. We're going to be speaking with celebrity chef and TV personality, Martie Duncan's on the show. Amazing gal from Alabama. We're also going to talk about how sometimes as entrepreneurs we can go against it, we kind of hit the brick wall over and over, we find discouragement, but how one of the right opportunities or one of the right exposures can really turn our career around and launch us into orbit. Don't go anywhere, we have an amazing show, we'll be right back. Thank you, welcome back, welcome back. Welcome, I'm here with the lovely Martie Duncan from the Food Network star and TV personality. You've been all over the place, I've been keeping up with your career. First of all, I want to know, and I've had emails all week asking me, ask her this, ask her that.
Oh, but fantastic.
When did you start really developing a passion for food?
Well, come on now. You can't look at me and tell. That's a loaded question. Yeah, I've had a passion for food my whole life. Come on. My mother was the most incredible cook ever. My mom grew up in the children's home in Troy, Alabama. And all the kids there had to have a job, and my mother's job was in the kitchen. So she grew up feeding lots of people. So from her, I learned that's how you love people. You feed them. Right. So I started cooking when I was really young, but my mother's the best cook in the whole wide world. So listen, we never ate out. We never went anywhere. We're sitting at the table, knife and fork, ready to go. I mean, so I've always loved food.
And I know you mentioned you're from Alabama. How has living in the South really influenced your cooking, or has it?
Well, I've lived in the South most of my life. I'm from Birmingham. I grew up in Roebuck. I went to Banks High School, which doesn't exist anymore. It's not a school, but in its day it was unbelievable, and those people really came through for me during Food Network Star. I gotta say, shout out to the hometown. But I would have to say I've lived all over the world, and I've been all over the world. Believe it or not, I haven't lost my accent, right? Anyway, but I always hold to my Southern roots for two things: really good flavor and comforting food. I don't do typical comfort food like you might think, like a lot of fried chicken and mashed potatoes. On certain occasions I do, but I think mostly the flavors influence me, and then I try to do those kind of in a new or fresher way.
Right, I get it. And what was it like? So you're this Southern gal from Birmingham, and then all of a sudden you're on this very popular show. I mean, what was that?
Well, you talked a little bit about being an entrepreneur, and so I'm an entrepreneur. I've started a couple companies. I've sold some, and I've crashed some.
Right, we all have.
Yeah, I mean, so if anybody gets the concept of what we're talking about here today, it's me. Because I've had some massive, massive failures in business. I've had a couple successes. But I knew with my brand, Martie Knows Parties, which is a website about affordable ideas for entertaining at home, I knew that I needed some visibility to kind of get me to the next level. And I had been working at it a couple years. We'd done a lot of shows, trade shows, things like that. We'd had people approach us for TV pilots, but it just wasn't getting enough traction. So I thought, what the heck? I don't know what made me think I could, but I decided to audition for Food Network Star because I thought if I got it, it would give me the visibility that I needed for my brand to just kind of, instead of walking, I would sort of then get on a jet plane and go to the next level, and that's exactly what's happened.
Well, and so many people out there, they don't see that behind the scenes. You know, to some it might appear that all of a sudden there's this gal out of nowhere, she gets this great exposure, and she's this huge star, and she's all over traveling the different states and going to these restaurants, but they don't see all the work and plan that it takes behind the scenes. Years. But then finally you get that right exposure.
I've been Martie with the party to my friends since high school days. On the show I talked about this. I got left out of a little sorority thing. And it wasn't intended to be a mean girls thing. It was just some girls told me something was going to happen, then it didn't happen.
Right.
I sat there and got my feelings hurt for about 2 weeks, then I decided, well, heck, I'm throwing my own dang party. So that's what I started doing. I started throwing my own parties at home. My mom said, you could do it, but you got to cook and you got to clean up. I'm like, fine. That's when I started having parties because I wanted to be included.
That's right.
And I just didn't want to get left out. And that's always been my thing. So ever since I was a kid, I've done it. But it wasn't until 2007 when I went to Microsoft with a business deal, and they're like, Martie, we love what you do, but what about parties and entertaining in general? Now, I was a wedding specialist. I was really focused on weddings. And they said, you know what? Weddings are great. They're just too narrow. Why don't you open it up and make it parties and entertaining in a big way? And I said, that sounds great, but My friends don't call me Martie with the party for nothing, and they went, that's it, that's
Martie
it.
with the party.
So we started developing this original content around affordable ideas for entertaining at home. But man, did we have slugged it out. I mean, we've done shows like this and lots of other kinds of things, and we have worked and worked and worked, and we just weren't getting the traction. Food Network Star has catapulted us to a visibility that we couldn't have gotten without it.
Yes, and you know, on the show, I know that your coaches, you were working with Alton Brown.
Yes.
What was it like to work with him? And I know Bobby Flay, we're huge fans of both. What was that like?
Well, in the beginning, they asked us, not telling us why they asked, but in the beginning, they asked us, you could work with Bobby, Giada, or Alton. Why would you? You know, would you pick?
Yeah.
Which one would you pick? So I picked Alton Brown, and I picked Alton Brown because I felt like what I didn't know about food, not having any culinary experience, only being a home cook, but what I didn't know about food, I could learn from Alton. And that really, I didn't really learn a lot about cooking from Alton Brown, but what I did learn a lot about myself.
Right.
And I think that was really, he gave me a lot of insight into some things I needed to do to sort of get myself to the next level.
The next level.
Yeah.
You know, and we were talking beforehand, my wife, we were talking, and you I know have some things in the works which we'll talk about as far as television shows coming up.
Right.
But we were big fans of both Alton and Bobby Flay. My wife is a big foodie, and I don't know if, I'm sure there's many people out there like this, but I'll travel. And although she's a vegetarian, she'll kind of live vicariously through me and say, when you go to California, go here, try this steak, eat this. And, you know, she has me going all over the place. But
well, I think Food Network has opened up the world of food
huge.
to so many people.
Yeah.
And I think that the one thing that Food Network has really done a great job of is making great food accessible to everybody. They can say, in this town, go here, diners, drive-ins, and dives. In fact, he's the one, Guy Fieri is the one who encouraged me to audition for Food Network Star. I met him and he said, Martie, what the heck, why don't you get a show on Food Network? I said, dude, don't you think if I knew how I wouldn't get one? He goes, you should do Food Network Star. But I was nervous to try, so it took me about 2 years, and then I finally auditioned.
Well, on the show there was a real face-off, and I know that actually Justin Warner wound up winning the show.
Yeah.
Do you guys still keep in communication at all?
Yeah, for sure. Justin and I were really tight. Now, I got to tell you, came down to the last episode. They were naming people to do this pilot. They were green lighting pilots. They were only going to do 3. So it was a huge, big, dramatic moment on the show. Some people say it's the best moment in Food Network Star history. Best moment in Food Network Star history.
We saw that on the internet, that there was a lot of people.
So anyway, I got a pilot and Justin got a pilot. So that was a big deal that 2 people from our team got a pilot. Very big deal. But what I will tell you is this. Although I didn't win, I did. I mean, I didn't get the TV show. I didn't get the pass, but I did get the support of the state of Alabama, and for me, that's worth more than getting a show on Food Network.
Absolutely.
6 episodes on Food Network. I have a lifetime here of people who supported me, stood up for me, voted for me, got their friends and their family to vote for me. I'll never forget it.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it.
Well, talk a little bit for our viewers. Put us there. So you're cooking these dishes, you have these other people that you're going against, and then you're walking up to some of the biggest personalities in the food business and presenting it, and then you're being judged by these people. I mean, what is that really like? I bet it's wrenching.
Yeah, I have to say. All right, so I think for some of the chefs there are a lot more. So a lot of them have been on Food Network before. Many of them had. In fact, of the final 4, the other 3 had been on at least 1 show. Some of them have been on 2 and 3 shows. So for me, I was the only one who'd never been on Food Network, never competed, certainly never presented in a judging. I never had my food judged, except by my friends and my family. You know, nobody had ever judged my food ever, and I'd never worked under time constraints like that. For me, that was the hardest part. I learned to very quickly get organized in a kitchen. Perspective.
Yeah.
But to have to take your plate to Bobby Flay, an Iron Chef, and say, here you go, chef. Very intimidating for the first couple of episodes, for sure. On the first episode, I did 15 recipes, 15 different things that made up one dish. And at the judging, Bobby Flay said to me, Martie, girl, that's an Iron Chef deal.
Right.
This is Food Network Star. Yeah. You're not on Iron Chef. You need to ramp it back. 1 dish, just 1 dish, that's enough. But I almost killed myself.
Yeah. Well, let's take a quick break. I want to hear more about a little bit about your background, not just where you know, growing up in Alabama, but I know that you didn't have any formal training, and I want to talk a little bit about that when we come back. More with Martie Duncan in a minute. Stay with us. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for sticking with us. I'm here with the lovely Martie Duncan from the Food Network Star. And we've been discussing food, and we've been discussing business. We've been drinking champagne. People are coming up and down ordering food. It's a crazy
So
party.
much fun, though.
It's always a party.
Yeah, it's always a party with Martie, for sure.
Now, I know that you don't have any formal culinary training and never worked in a restaurant. Being on the show and with your career in general, do you think that that helped your career, or do you think it hurt?
Well, okay. For sure, I was at a disadvantage. And I told Alton Brown that when he picked me to be on his team. I said, I know I am going to be at a slight disadvantage to some of the restaurant chefs. I know they'll have it up on me. First of all, some of them will have cooked the same recipe 50, 60, 70 times a night, hundreds of times a night for years. And they know how to work under pressure. So I told him, I said, I know some of these restaurant chefs are going to have it up on me a little bit, but nobody will fight harder than me. And I think that's what happened. I was at a bit of a disadvantage, but I fought really hard every single week. I tried. I make pretty good food. That's the lucky thing. I have easy, simple recipes that people can follow along at home, but really good flavor. Alton Brown and Bob Tushman, who is the executive, I think he's the vice president of marketing, of programming at Food Network, told me, he said, Martie, your food is like flannel pajamas and hot cocoa. It's just good and comforting food. So that made me happy.
Well, and I think watching the episode, a lot of people thought, okay, this gal, she doesn't have any formal training. This is going to be the first one out of here. And then you're just back week after week. And I also think, you know, in business in general, sometimes there's advantages to not having all that training, because people go in there with a paradigm saying, in the food industry, this is the way it works. Or, hey, and you didn't have all those bad habits. You didn't have that paradigm to come. You kind of just went out there and, like you said, put in hard work and had a good time.
Well, one thing I have learned, there can be a recipe for success in business. And certainly you see a lot of restaurateurs who have a model that works, and they cookie cutter it. They might tweak it a bit, and that does work sometimes. But sometimes to go off the chart, to do something completely different is really, and like Justin Warner, who ended up winning, there's been nobody ever like Justin Warner on Food Network before. So it just goes to show you sometimes doing something really, really different can be successful.
That's right. And there's risk, you know, in any business becoming successful, there's risk. You're veering off the beaten path. There's a big risk. Sometimes it'll flop and that'll be the end.
I've been there.
And sometimes it hits and you just keep going until you hit.
My big objective when I started the show was not to be the first one to go home. And then once that happened and I got through that week, I was fine. Then every week it would just stay one more week, one more week, one more week. And I just wanted to fight as hard as I could every single week, turn in the best plate of food I can or do the best I could on my presentation every week.
Well, and I can almost see a switch there towards the last few episodes. I think you were kind of thinking, you know what, I can win this sucker, man.
I thought I could win it from day one. I wouldn't have gone. Honestly, that's the truth. I thought I could win it because I know I have a lot more life experience than most of them. I've worked in an industry, the wedding industry, where there is no no. You can't tell somebody no. You ruin their life. I was a cop. I've been shot at. I've been drugged behind a car. I've been beat up. Come on, so I felt like all those experiences could really give me an advantage. I maybe didn't have the cooking, but I had a lot of life experiences that I knew would help me.
Well, the show got a lot of accolades, and I know that there was a huge following. In fact, I think you guys even landed on Oprah.
No, I was on Oprah 10 years ago. I mean, we haven't been on Oprah since the show because Oprah, I don't know what she's doing now, but yeah, in the 90s, I was on Oprah a couple times in the wedding industry. I would do these wedding segments with Oprah, either behind the scenes or in front of the camera, because I was a wedding expert. So that was in the 90s. And then I did a couple movies, My Best Friend's Wedding, Mona Lisa Smile.
I love it.
I've done lots of crazy things.
I have to go back and watch it. I love My Best Friend's Wedding.
I know, isn't it great? I mean, I had the most fun. So yeah, I've done a lot of craziness in my life and in my career. And I think all of those things helped set me up for this.
Well, let's talk about what you're doing now. I know that you have your own business, M Content Media. Tell us a little bit about that. What type of clients do you service? What's the
Well, for many years, a lot of my clients were in the wedding industry.
Right.
They might be registry, gift registry. They might be dress companies. They might be anybody that had something to do with a wedding space that wanted help in understanding a bridal consumer, what they
Right.
do when they do it. So we would create original, unique content for them. Then a few years ago, it started evolving into food, more and more into food and entertaining in general, with less of an emphasis on weddings. So now I do a lot of original content around Martie Knows Parties and some private label for different companies where we might do video work for them or photo shoots, photography,
Sure.
recipes, all kinds of things that they can turn around and utilize on their websites.
Wow. Well, you're a busy gal. You're all over the place. Let's take a quick break, and I want to hear a little bit about your tour. I know recently you've been on tour. You've really been helping your home state. So we'll be right back with Martie Duncan. Stay with us. Welcome back. Welcome back. I'm here with Martie Duncan from the Food Network Star. And one thing I really appreciate is how much you've done for your home state, Alabama. Particularly the Gulf Coast. Obviously that they've been hit with numerous hurricanes. They kind of got a break. I thought this is going to be our year. Then the oil shows up, and then another hurricane, and you've really campaigned to bring tourism back, to bring good food back to Alabama, and they appreciate it so much. And I know recently you kind of went on a tour through Alabama, hitting a bunch of different restaurants and highlighting the best of the best.
We did that for Alabama Restaurant Week. We did really the week before Restaurant Week and the week of Alabama Restaurant Week in order to get some visibility so people would know that it was coming and try to kind of make it a bigger deal.
Yeah.
My assistant Caroline and I went on a 2-week road tour around the state of Alabama. Let's see, it was 60 restaurants, about 2,200 miles on my car, 180 plates of food, and 12 pounds on me. And trust me, I hadn't been able to get that off yet, but we ate some of the best food and met the nicest people. So we went from the tip to the tail all the way.
Wow.
And we had the best time. And we've seen a lot of our new friends here
wow.
today. Yeah.
Well, you're describing like my wife's dream job, is to go out there.
We had the best time. You got to manage the calories, so you can't eat the whole plate no matter how good it is. You only have to eat a little bit because, seriously, they would sometimes bring 10, 12 plates of food, and we might have 10 stops in a day.
Yeah.
But sometimes it was just so good you just had to eat it. But it's my great pleasure, my very great pleasure to be able to talk about my state of Alabama, to be an ambassador for our food, our people, our culture. Sometimes I think people from other places just don't know. A lot of times when I would post pictures like from the balcony of the Perdido Beach Resort down here, or from the turquoise place where we are this weekend, I would post pictures on Facebook or on Twitter, and people go like, "Where is that?" I'm like, "It's Alabama."
They have a coast?
No idea.
Yeah. They have no idea there's a beach.
Oh, and how beautiful our beaches are,
Unbelievable.
and how fabulous our people are, how wonderful our food is. So it's my great pleasure to give something back to people who were so good to me when I needed it.
Well, they certainly appreciate it. You've certainly done so much, and I'm new to this area. I've been visiting here for several years on vacation, and I didn't realize how big Alabama football was.
Honey.
I mean, it's like religion down here. Who's your team?
I'm
or
Switzerland.
Can you say? Huh?
I'm Switzerland.
Okay.
I'm neutral. I'm neutral.
You have to be, actually, because down here people fight each other over those things.
You know what? I'm so proud of my state. I want every team to win anytime they can. I want what these guys go through to put that on for you guys, for people every weekend. I mean, they sacrifice, they suffer. I'm proud of all of them. I'm proud of all of them. I've got no loyalty. I love them all.
Well, what's next for Martie Duncan? You've done it all. You've done the weddings. You've been on Oprah. You've accomplished so much. What's the future?
Yeah, we're working on a TV show right now. We're working on a couple of different concepts, working on a book deal, and just hope that we can get out around the state of Alabama and other places around the country and talk about what's great here.
It's great. Well, we appreciate you so much stopping by. We know that you're a very busy lady, but you've done so much for the foodies out there. Not only that, but your state. You've done so much, and we appreciate you. Where can people find you if they're passionate about food, they want to get involved?
It's not just food. It's simple, easy ideas for affordable entertaining, and we're coming up on the holiday season. So I know a lot of people freak out about this, but go to my website. It's MartieKnowsParties.com. Martie Knows Parties on Facebook, and Martie Party on Twitter. And I give great ideas, easy recipes, and just things to do, kind of not typical things that you could do during the holidays to have a lot of fun.
Well, Martie knows parties, and believe me, she does, and we're getting ready to have one here. We're out of time. That's our show. And again, we want to give a special thanks to Shaul with the Hangout, also our lovely guest Martie Duncan and the Food Network. And again, guys, don't forget to get involved in your local community and be forgiving of others. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Hi, I'm Dan Vega, and thank you for watching our channel. I want to take a second to tell you about a resource that's helping thousands of people across the country, BLU University. BLU University is the premier online business school for entrepreneurs and business leaders. You know, if you find yourself in a day-to-day grind where you've lost your joy or you're just tired of struggling, then check out BLU.University. That's BLU.University. I can promise that you receive nothing short of a multi-million-dollar education. And if you want a completely different life in 3 to 6 months and a way to create wealth in 5 years or less, then again, check it out. That's BLU.University. Find out why blue is the new color of success. Also, make sure to subscribe to this channel or to give us a good rating, but that's only if you see value. And when you do receive value, make sure to share it with someone else. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time.